Welcome back. So let's talk about the big important part of metabolism, the electron transport chain. This is where most of the energy from that sugar is going to be turned into ATP. These reactions are going to happen in using molecules that are bound to a membrane. So this has to happen within a membrane. In prokaryotes, the only membrane they have is a plasma membrane. So this reaction, this set of reactions will happen within the plasma membrane. In eukaryotes, because we have mitochondria that have now been, specialized for energy, these reactions are going to happen within the inner mitochondrial membrane. So where do these happen in prokaryotes and eukaryotes? You can already tell me that much. Within the electron transport chain, we have a series of carrier molecules that we are going to take those electrons from NADH or take the electrons from FADH2 and just pass them down the chain from one to the next to the next. So the first one will be reduced as it picks up the first set of electrons, then passes them down, it's oxidized again. Picks up the next set of electrons, passes them down, it's oxidized again. So these carrier molecules are just getting oxidized and reduced as they pick up the electrons from NADH and FADH2 and pass them on down the chain. They're going to take that energy from the electrons and create a gradient. They're going to create a gradient of hydrogen ions. And that gradient is going to be what produces ATP. Just for your information, these are the different types of electron carriers that are there, although I will not be asking you to name them. So here is the words of what's going to happen. So I recommend you just kind of pause and write it down, but I think it makes more sense to go through the picture. So I'm going to just skip the words. You can read it to yourself. I'm going to the picture. So we have NADH here bringing its electrons. It brings its electrons to the electron transport chain. So here this electron is being passed off. So now NADH has lost its electrons. It's oxidized again as NAD+, and it runs off back to, start the whole process again. This electron is picked up by the first part of the electron transport chain. When it picks up these electrons, it shoots out hydrogens. The electrons pass on down. The next guy shoots out hydrogens. The electrons pass on down. Electrons pass on down. More hydrogens are shot out. So we have all of these hydrogens being shot out. That means we're getting lots of hydrogens accumulating here. This is either that periplasmic space, if we're talking about a prokaryote, that space between the cytoplasm and the cell wall, or within the mitochondrial between those two sets of membranes, if we're talking about a eukaryote. But those hydrogens are kind of being trapped within that area. Just as an aside, if you've ever had bacteria spoil your milk, turns it a little bit sour, this is why, because it's making hydrogens, and those hydrogens, some of them just escape. Or if you've ever had a cavity on your tooth, because those bacteria, as they're releasing these hydrogens, some of those escape and break down your tooth enamel. Okay, so this is how a lot of disease and food spoilage happens. Okay, let's go through what just happened again. NADH brings its electrons. So NADH is oxidized back to NAD+, runs off to go through glycolysis and everything again. When this first electron carrier picks up electrons, it also picks up hydrogens and sends hydrogens out. Electrons are passed down, more hydrogens sent out. Electrons passed down, more hydrogens sent out. So we just passed out 3 pairs of hydrogen ions, okay? So we have a gradient now. We have more hydrogens outside of this membrane than we have inside. Cells do not like gradients. Cells want equilibrium. So that hydrogen is going to come back in across the membrane through this little enzyme called ATP synthase. That's important to know. These hydrogens come back through ATP synthase. As it does, ATP synthase does this little happy dance and spins around. And when it spins around, this little wheel spinner part here, when it spins around, it grabs ADP and ATP and makes, it grabs ADP and phosphate and makes ATP. Because NADH brought electrons and passed off hydrogens 1, 2, 3 times, we make 3 ATP. For every NADH that brings electrons to the electron transport chain, we make 3 ATP. So in your chart that's asking how much energy is made, we make 3 ATP for every NADH. Now, FADH is a little bit snobbier than NADH. FADH will not come hang out with this first protein. FADH is going to come over here. So when FADH comes, it drops off its electrons, hydrogens pump out. Electrons pass on down, hydrogens pump out. Because we skipped this first guy, we only pass out 2 sets of electrons. Okay? So FADH2 brings electrons, passes them down, but we only send out 2 pairs of hydrogens. We still get a little bit of a gradient happening here. But guess how many ATP we're going to make for every FADH2? We made 2 pairs of hydrogens go across the membrane, so 2 pairs of hydrogens can come in. So every FADH2 makes 2 ATP. Okay, so if you can go through this again with me. NADH drops off its electrons, hydrogens pumped across the membrane as electrons travel down. We get a gradient of hydrogens. Hydrogens come back into the cell through ATP synthase. Be able to label that molecule for me. ATP synthase makes ATP. Okay? FADH brings electrons to the electron transport chain, passes hydrogens across the membrane. We get a gradient. Hydrogens come in through ATP synthase. ATP synthase spins around and makes ATP. We get 2 ATP for every FADH2. That's what you need to be able to tell me about. If you can tell me that, you've got it set. If you have to replay the past 2 minutes of this slide 30 times until you can say it with me, you can do that. So, in aerobic respiration, we start at the very beginning with glucose. Oh, we forgot oxygen. How could we forget oxygen? At the end of the electron transport chain, we've got all these electrons carrying around here. You're going to have to do something with it. You can't just create a traffic jam. Those electrons have to go somewhere. So oxygen is going to pick up these electrons that are coming at the end of the electron transport chain. It's going to pick up these hydrogens coming in through ATP synthase and make water. So now at the end of aerobic respiration, we start with a molecule of glucose, a bunch of oxygen, a bunch of ADPs. Our glucose gets broken down to carbon dioxide. Our oxygens pick up hydrogen and make water. And our ADPs turn into ATP. We make 38 ATP. As again, every NADH that can be oxidized in the electron transport chain makes 3 ATP. Each FADH2 that brings electrons to the electron transport chain makes 2 ATP. Okay. If your head is spinning right now and you think I hate this class, that's okay. Work on being able to go through that chart. Even if you can't make it make sense, if you can just fill in that chart, you're okay. If you can make it make sense, then you are absolutely fabulous. But if all you can do is fill in that chart for these last 2 lectures, that's okay. Okay, I will pick you up. Let's pick up at aerobic and anaerobic respiration in our next video. I'll see you later. Bye.